Hello guys, and welcome to this lecture where we're going to look at setting up SSH with Git and GitHub. Okay, so I'm going to bring up my GitHub account, and you notice that in our previous lectures the way we've been connecting to our GitHub repository is by clicking on code and then using HTTP, and we copy this link and then we use it in our Git terminal. But there is also the option to use SSH, and SSH actually stands for Secure Shell, and it's a way we can generate a kind of key that enables us to access our GitHub account. So whereas if we want to create a new project and push from the local to the GitHub remote repository, we'll be required to enter in our username and password. But when we set up SSH, then all of that process will be not necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up SSH right now. So first off, bring up your terminal. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close this one, and I'm going to right click on my desktop and open a new git bash. Okay, I'll bring up my browser and the git bash, and I would increase the font size. Okay, so to begin generating your SSH key, what you need to do is to just say SSH keygen. So SSH hyphen keygen and hit enter. So it says it's generating public and private RSA key pair, okay, and it's generating the key to a specific location on your folder. What you just need to do now is on your desktop rather, what you need to do now is click enter. So I'll click enter to agree, and then next it tells me to enter a passphrase. Now I can leave my passphrase empty, okay, but the um, con of leaving your passphrase empty is that if somebody has access to your computer for any reason and they use your git bash terminal, they can actually have access to your remote repository and do whatever it is they want. So this is like an added layer of security if for any reason your computer falls into the wrong hands. Okay, so but for the purpose of this tutorial I'm going to leave mine blank. Okay, so I'll hit enter and I'll hit enter. Okay, so basically we have successfully generated a key, private and public key, that we can use to link up to GitHub. Okay, and remember the location for that key is in so your desktop, user, and SSH/r. So basically what I'll do is I'll just copy this guy here. So I'll right click and copy, and then I would pause the video and locate it in my desktop. Okay, so I've located the files that were generated, and this is I have them here. So there are two files that were generated. The first is the private key and the second is the public key. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this public key and I'll post it on my GitHub account. So basically I'm just going to open a notepad, okay, and I will drag the second file, which I said is the public key. Okay, so I'll just drag it on the notepad, and as you can see it's a long hash here. So I'll just copy it and I'll head over to my GitHub account. I'll come to settings right here, and I would come over to SSH and GPG keys. Okay, over here I will then select new SSH key, and then I would give this key a name. So I will just say and I will paste in the key. Okay, and then I would say add SSH key. Of course, you'll be required to confirm your password before you can um, add your SSH key. So I'm just going to paste in my password. I already have it saved, and I will say confirm password. Okay, so I've successfully added this SSH key that I generated to my GitHub account. Now let's open up our terminal and continue the process. So having added the public SSH key to your GitHub account, you now need to activate or initialize the SSH key on your computer. The way you do that is you use the command eval and the $, and then within brackets you say SSH-agent. You give a space and you say -s, and then you close the brackets. So this is how you begin to activate the SSH key on your computer, or the SSH agent on your computer. So next I'm going to hit enter, and as you can see it gives me the agent's PID. Okay, so next I will do SSH and add my key, the second private key to my computer. So I'll just look for the location. So remember, the location is at our SSH/ID RSA. Okay, so I'll just say to specify that my home computer, and then I would say .ssh, okay, /ID underscore RSA, and then I'll hit enter. So as you can see, my identity has been added. Now let's go ahead and create a new GitHub repository and then clone using SSH. So I would come to GitHub and I would come here and say new repository, and then I will name this repository SSH test. Because I'm not going to add a description. I'll add a README file, add a git ignore file. I'll just use action script here, and then I would even choose a license. I'll just choose maybe Apache license 2.0, and I'll click on create repository. Okay, so I created a new repository named SSH test. Now let's attempt to clone this repository to our desktop. I'll click on code here, and I'll clone with SSH. Okay, so previously we've been cloning using HTTPS, but this time I'll clone with SSH, and then I would click on copy. I'll come to my terminal. Okay, I'm in my desktop, and I can even open a new terminal. So if I right click and say new, I'll open up a new terminal just to start my work on a fresh slate. So I can minimize this, and then I will say git clone, and then I'll paste in the SSH. Okay, and hit enter. So it says, are you sure you want to continue connecting? I would say yes, and I'll hit enter. Okay, so it has successfully cloned my SSH test. If I go to my desktop folder, you see that I have the SSH test here. Of course, we can always check it from our terminal. So I'll say cd, and I would go to the SSH test folder. And as you can see, let me just bring this out. We have SSH test folder, and we are currently logged in as master. So let's do ls-a, and you see that we have our files inside. So subsequently, from now we can use the SSH on our computer. You can push and do everything we have been doing using the SSH. Thank you so much for watching this lecture. I know it was quite long, but If you go through this process, then you will not need to enter your username and your password every time you create a new GitHub repository on your desktop. Thank you so much. See you in the next lecture.